Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, has called on protesters around the world to commit to nonviolence as they seek change, while urging world leaders to listen to the real problems of real people. The UN chief told reporters at the UN headquarters that disquiet in people's lives had sparked a protest around the world from Middle East to Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America and the Caribbean.
Every situation is unique. Some protests are triggered by economic issues, including rising prices, persistent inequality, or financial systems that benefit elites. Others stem from political demands, and in some cases, people are reacting to corruption or different forms of discrimination.
Guterres said people want their human rights respected, including the right to have a say in decision-making process.
People want a level playing field, including social, economic and financial systems that work for all. And they want their human rights respected and a say in the decisions that affect their lives. As I already said in my statement 2 weeks ago, I am deeply concerned that some protests have led to violence and loss of life. Governments have an obligation to uphold the freedoms of expression and peaceful assembly and to safeguard civic space. Security forces must act with maximum restraint in conformity with international law.
The Secretary General reiterated this deep concern that some protests have turned violent and led to the loss of life, stressing that governments are obligated to uphold the freedom of expression and assembly, and security forces must act with maximum restraint in conformity with international law. In response to a question about deadly protests in Iraq, Antonio Guterres said the UN has been systematically appealing for nonviolence and for restraint by Iraqi authorities and other actors.
Our mission has been very active in relation to this. We have issued a report just 3 days ago with some preliminary findings, and we have, of course, been systematically appealing for nonviolence and for restraint in relation to the authorities and the other actors that are involved. We deeply regret the large number of people that have been killed in these circumstances. And according to our preliminary findings, there were indeed substantial violations of human rights that took place and need to be clearly denounced and condemned.
He pointed to recent UN preliminary findings which showed substantial violations of human rights that took place and need to be clearly denounced and condemned. Antonio Guterres called for action to create fair globalization, strengthen social cohesion, and tackle the climate crisis. He further said these are the objectives of the UN goals for 2030 aimed at ending extreme poverty. Eunice Deco, CBA News.